Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk. It's Terry Sweeney with Dark Reading. I'm happy to welcome to the podium H.D. Moore, CEO and founder of runZero. H.D. Moore, welcome, sir.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this. runZero, of course, operates in the cyber asset attack surface management space, aka CAASM. Can we start just with some context about CAASM and what differentiates it from other security management solutions?
Yeah, sure thing. The concept behind CAASM is you can't protect what you don't know about. So obviously if you have part of your estate that you're not aware of and you can't really defend it very well. I started runZero because as a pen tester, worked on Metasploit 15 years, lots of vulnerability assessment background, we kept breaking into well-funded, very secure organizations through assets they didn't know they had. And with runZero, we took a very different approach in that instead of using integrations only to gather data about what was there, we built a world-class scan engine, passive discovery engine that actually finds networks you don't know about, assets you weren't even aware of, assets that no existing system would be able to tell you about through an integration. So we started off with the hard thing first, which is we want to precisely identify assets anywhere in your environment with no credentials, no setup, no access. So if you're going to an environment that's post M&A and there are no IT people to help out,
Right.
Yeah, we can find everything really quick.
I can imagine, especially through acquisitions and networks that really didn't show up on schematics, that sort of thing, but also stealth IT, equipment that employees bring in and just set up their own Wi-Fi, for example. Is this a fairly common occurrence?
Yeah, absolutely. Often your security team walks in, gets handed a spreadsheet by IT and said, here's what we have, here's our bone scan scope, here's your EDR, but they're obviously missing a large portion of the network. For customers of runZero, they typically find 25% more assets than they knew about before, even if they're using another CAASM solution, because we actually go find them.
So the hunt and discovery aspect of CAASM is obviously a big selling point.
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, obviously, if you don't know about the thing, you can't defend it. You can only protect devices that you have endpoint agent on, some kind of security control on. And for the devices you don't know about, typically there are no security controls.
All right. Gaze into your crystal ball, if you will, and tell us what you can see evolving in the CAASM category, say, over the next 12 to 24 months. What do you see there?
Sure thing. And the thing we're seeing right now is that integration data is not enough. You have to go get good data to tell customers things they don't know. You can't just sell them their own data back to them, basically. And so what we're saying in the CAASM market, it's really becoming a subset of attack surface management, of exposure management. And at the end of the day, customers care about preventing a breach and being able to quickly respond to a breach if one happens. And that's what we're focused on, is those two problems.
All right. runZero recently unveiled a new research and an open source tool. Let's start with that research first. Tell us about the subject and some of the key findings.
Sure thing. So we took a really hard look at the secure shell ecosystem. So every type of secure shell you can imagine, not just OpenSSH, not the regression vulnerabilities, but literally everything that speaks to the protocol. Okay. And we found a long tail of problems that just no one else had run across yet because it requires really kind of deep testing of the protocol stack and the library. So we built a tool that we call SSHamble, which is SSHamble. And the idea behind it is that we'll poke and prod various parts of the protocol stack to be able to basically drop shells out of devices that would otherwise be secure.
All right. Anything that was surprising in there that maybe was unexpected or counterintuitive?
Quite a lot. We found a lot of ICS devices that would just give you a remote shell pre-authentication by tricking the state engine of the protocol to say, hey, just give me a session now, pre-authentication. We also found machines that allow you to do port forwarding on machines even before you authenticate. We found all sorts of just misconfigurations, exposures across the board. One of the more surprising parts, though, is if you look at OpenSSH as an ecosystem, it's not just one thing. It's Apple has their own version of it. Debian and Ubuntu have their own version. Red Hat has its own version. The regression vulnerabilities recently reported by Qualys only affected some variants because of things. The libxz backdoor only affected things that link to systemd. And if you look at OpenSSH for Windows in particular, over 350 files were modified, and one of the most critical functions in the OpenSSH source code have been modified and effectively backdoored by accident through this modification. So just because something is OpenSSH doesn't mean it's actually secure. All those modifications really matter.
Excellent. Let's turn to the open source tool that you introduced. Talk about who it was designed for and some of its major functions.
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, just like my background in Metasploit, we want to provide tools both for people who are testing their security systems as well as for researchers and engineers and developers who want to extend it. So this toolkit is a way to, one, just quickly scan your network and say, are any of these common misconfigurations that we found exposed in any of your equipment and your devices as a vendor or as a product security person? But also, do you have ideas for how to find new bugs? Is there another cool technique on SSH that you want to implement? You can drop it into this code, extend it, modularize it, just like you would with something like Metasploit.
Why did you choose open source? Just because of its wide adaptability?
Oh, I love open source. I spent about 20 years doing mostly open source stuff, and this is the first company where we weren't open source first. But we want to contribute back. We really want to collaborate with the bigger research community. We want to help find more cool bugs. We want to shake out all those insecurities, and the best way to do that is with the community.
Excellent. How can viewers access this tool and get more information about it?
Sure, you go to runZero.com. There's a link to the SSHamble tool. Our GitHub repo is live right now. The code's a little messy, but it works great today, and we'd love to see your pull request or feedback.
Excellent. HD, thanks so much for this really great deep dive into the CAASM space. Thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Cool. Thank you, Terry.
We've been talking with HD Moore of runZero. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.